I've been no contact off and on with my family for over 10 years now. I have never been one of these people to go no contact and just completely commit to it. I feel like I've had to grieve my family's loss while they're still alive, and it's been very, very hard and very confusing. To this day, it still is confusing, and it's still a journey. I've always wanted to arrive at this point of I need to make a decision to just cut them off and stay that decision, and I've gone years not speaking to my parents, years not speaking to my sister, months not even speaking to my brother. I'm just going to talk about my story, my dynamic, because it is very confusing. I remember a few years ago I came across the term no contact, and I was like, wow, that really resonates with me. And I didn't really realize what I've done before was no contact with my parents. I just was not talking to them for long periods of time. There's definitely pros and cons of not talking to your parents and talking to them. I've seen a lot online about how some people, they just say like, well, it's a better thing to do to survive, but there's also so much pain that comes from not knowing your parents, and life's so short. And I have that perspective. I think the first time I would no contact with my family, I wouldn't say it's no contact, like I was still living under their roof off and on, because they would constantly kick me out and I'd be homeless, and I wouldn't be homeless and I'd be back in their house. I was either 14 or 15. I don't know the exact age. I think I was 14 when I really stopped talking to my dad for a while, and I just stayed at my mom's, because actually my mom and I were very close. Like, we were attached at the hip. So for me to go from this attachment with my mother, where it was like Gilmore Girls, that kind of attachment, she was my only really like friend. We would go kind of everywhere together. We would go and do errands together. I had extreme attachment to my mother. I wonder if part of that was because she breastfed me for an entire year. That might be the case. But also, when I was born, my mom and my dad, I think, were in a fight. And I think that has an effect on a child. Like, when a child's born, how if a mom has resentment or animosity towards her husband, because I think that my dad won a trip through business to Hawaii on my birthday, and my dad's like, let's go to Hawaii. My mom's like, I'm gonna give birth in like 2 weeks or a week or however long it was. And then my dad was pissed because she was like, I'm not going to Hawaii, but you can go. And then he didn't end up going, and my mom was like, I was there alone. And my dad was like, I was there for your birth, and I can't believe she says I wasn't. And then there's all this stuff, whether he was or wasn't. I'm sure my dad was there for our birth. I actually think my dad loves us more than my mom does, which I'm going to get into. I've always had this attachment with my mom growing up, and now I really don't even speak to my mom. I speak to her once in a while, which is progress, because I did not speak to her for years, or I'd speak to her for a year and then I wouldn't speak to her for a year, because some of the things that she did to me and how the cycle just continued to repeat. I really do believe that when people say a child does not cut off their parents unless they have to survive, that's wholeheartedly the case with me. I always had so much shame, I guess, for cutting my family off, but it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I'm such a family person, and I'm not heartless at all. I feel like I have such a big heart. It has been so painful, because I feel like I've always just held on to my family and how it was before things were not good. I always thought like my childhood up until ages of 7 was perfect. Like, I honestly genuinely thought I had the best childhood a girl can ever ask for. My parents would take us camping. We would always be doing something. I genuinely felt so loved. My parents were very intentional with us, and they were very caring. They would put in so much efforts to Christmas and family and birthdays, and I really felt so connected to my parents. We were this perfect family. But I think there's things also when you're young you don't see or doesn't seep into you. And sometimes I wonder, is there things that my sister was affected by, because she is 3 years older than me, so is there things that my sister was affected by, and this is the way she is, that I wasn't affected by? Did she hear my parents fight? I'd have asked her this before. I'm like, have you heard my parents fight or something? I think she might have. My sister is very, like, she dissociates, and my sister has ADHD, which I believe is just a different form of neurodivergence. For me, I don't have ADHD, but my brain splits into a million different ways, which is neurodivergent. My way of operating isn't as easy to classify as ADHD, because it's a story for another time, but I spent so much time out of school getting tested for certain things because of the way I learned. I could just see how my sister was so trapped within herself, and I look back at pictures when she was a kid. I think maybe when my parents were first married, because I'm pretty sure they got married and then they got pregnant right away. My mom was like very, very easy for her to get pregnant, very fertile, so I'm pretty sure they got pregnant with her really soon after they were married. Maybe it was harder at the beginning for them. I think my mom said something about that. But anyways, growing up, I've always felt like my sister was such a problem, and that my parents weren't so much a problem because I just never saw my parents fight. When they got divorced, even though it was heartbreaking, I really still felt connected to my parents. My dad said that when my parents got divorced, like I was such a sensitive child and that my relationship with him was just never the same after that. And I think that is one of the things about getting divorced does change a family dynamic. I still felt like that time with my dad and how we went to the grocery store and like we could just get whatever we wanted and get a million different cereals and Fruit Loops, which is horrible for you, but all these different things. That was one of the best times of my life. And how my parents got divorced, and before we bought a new house, we stayed at my grandmother's. Now when we got to buy a new house, my dad was asking us like what house do you want, like here are the options, there's two. And how I got to put polka dots on my wall, all this stuff. Like it wasn't that bad, and I actually started to like the different Christmases. But eventually I would say like after maybe a couple of years, it started to go quite downhill because my parents got remarried. I think that the way my parents operated was not wrong. I could not understand for so long as a child like why my parents got divorced. Now I can see so clearly like their ways of communicating is just so vastly different. Like my dad was so avoidant. If I say something and I fuck up and I say it to you, and if I say something hurtful, just suck it up, just go with it, right? And then my mom was kind of like me, like more sensitive. She's a Pisces, February Pisces, very different than March, I think. She was kind of like, I need to talk about it. My mom has a drawer full of vintage Gucci watches. Apologies for my dad. And now my dad is a good person. He generally is a good guy, but also I feel like my dad never had to gain emotional intelligence. My dad is very smart. My parents are actually both very, very smart in their own ways. My dad's good at math. He's obviously good at business owner. He is good at certain things, but also I do feel like my dad was kind of handed things because my grandfather was an entrepreneur and he doesn't really know what it's like to work for something. And even when it comes to girls, like my dad was the guy that I think a lot of guys wish they could be, to be honest. Like I think my dad was the guy where most popular in university and school. He brought me to his university, and this is why I've just like never been interested in guys much, because I'm just like, I have the dad that's the guy that everyone wanted to be, every girl wanted to date, and the stories that he told me in university. That's one way to learn about men. Anyways, my parents, let me just say, they are both good people. And I think that I put so much value and emphasis on being a good person, but you can be a good person and still be so emotionally immature and do things that just lack so much consideration for someone, for a child. That's kind of what happened to me. I would say the major reason I've gone no contact with my parents is because they have made me homeless from such a young age. My sister has kind of been able to forgive it. My parents kicked my sister out, which I was like, makes sense to me. Kick her the hell out. She's psychotic. I don't want to talk about my sister, but also my sister. No one this life, no one, my parents, no one, ex-boyfriends, no one has deeply hurt me and just been out to get me such a pure evil way as my sister has. And it like literally used to break my heart, but it's just the truth. I stopped trying to look for the good in her and I'm contact with her because it actually doesn't exist. It's like all a facade. I stopped looking for this good within her because some people just have rotten souls, but that's not the case with my parents. My parents, I kind of look at them as they're not consciously doing this to me. My parents never consciously want me to fail. My parents never consciously want ill intent for me. I don't think that. But kicking a child out when they're 14, and the reason why my parents kicked me out is because I've had really bad mental health since I was 14. It all started because of a few things. It started because I was put on medication for acne, and that really affected my mental health like drastically. It's because I went through sexual assault in high school, and how I would go to high school every day, and how I would go and hear a new rumor about me that was just not true. Like, oh my god, I slept with her. No, you didn't. Guys would say things to try to look cool to other guys and would literally make lies up. Or girls would just hate you for no reason. I mean, there's always a reason why girls would hate you, out of jealousy or something. And I felt like everywhere I went, it was just hell. And the teachers would yell at me for missing classes, even though I was at this like examination getting tested like a rablat for the way I learned. So I became very, very depressed, and I kind of tried to go to my parents to explain what was going on. My mom could never really like hold that space for me. And then at home at my dad's house, and at home was also horrible because my parents both remarried. So my dad remarried I was, I guess, 14, but really met my stepmom pretty soon after my dad's divorce, because I have come to have a good relationship now with my stepmom, and this is maybe a year long that we've been good and healing. And I think I've started to see different perspectives in her perspective as well, like being a stepmom, and how my dad and her have actually come to find each other. I look at their relationship as more of a slow burn. What I've realized about my stepmom is that we were meant to be in each other's lives. It was all destined. Her importance in my life, her role in my life is just as my mom. Even though my mom birthed me, my stepmom was always meant to be in my life. And there's certain things that have bonded my stepmom and I, which was really interesting, because I always thought she was evil. I really did. I thought she was evil, and I thought she just wanted my dad's money, but then I also was like, my dad just wants someone to cook and clean or something for her. I mean, they have house cleaners, but my dad wanted someone to cook for her. And like, my dad is the kind of guy, I love my dad, but he wants a woman. He's kind of, how would I put this? I mean, he has me, and he obviously wants me to have my head on my shoulders and like not rely on a guy and stuff like that. But when it comes to him, I think that he kind of just does need that kind of relationship where I need someone to do that stuff for me, it is kind of felt like this exchange for me. That's how it always looks like on the outside. Like, I'm like, these people don't really truly love each other. Now I kind of think, no, they do. It's just a different kind of love. It's different. I think family can be so hard. And it's not black and white. It's confusing as hell. Just felt like me and her had so many problems growing up, because I felt like she was evil. And listen, she did have so many rules. When my parents got divorced, I kind of was like, oh, this is awesome, because my dad has no rules. And my mom never really had. I mean, I could be myself around my mom as well. Like, I felt so safe with my parents. Like, alone. I felt so genuinely safe with my parents when they were together. I felt when they got divorced and they each had their own house, the way I grew up to be, I still could operate in that way. When I was younger, there's always like arts and crafts everywhere. There's crayons. If there was like a box that my dad would have from some things from work, we would make it arts and craft out of it and draw. And my dad would always like, here, buy this like big paper, and we'd roll them out in tons of chalk, and it'd be a mess everywhere. Right? But we were kids, and we were playing, and we were having fun. When they both got remarried, the people they got remarried to were very controlling in their own ways. Because when you have someone else come into the home, you have to accommodate for a whole different person. But when they're the parent and they're kind of the one saying this is how it goes, which kind of happened to be the case. Like, my stepmom was like, this is how it's going to go. It became her house. It wasn't our house anymore. Like, it became her house. And I need to be able to talk with this and how I felt and honor who I was, even if her and I are on good terms now, because this is the truth of how it was. It's not even how I felt. Like, this is how it was. And I know my other siblings felt this too. It's just that they're very people pleasers. My sister doesn't really think about things deeply, which is fine. I feel like I'm saying too much to put her down, but I'm not trying to. I really am just trying to say it as it is. It just became walking on eggshells. It really did. Like, we became walking on eggshells in our own home. I feel like that's kind of when things changed. And then I had a stepsister and a stepbrother. Our stepbrother like literally hated us. He's told us he wants to kill us. And listen, his father died when he was 4 or 5. It's natural for a guy to have anger. And then when your mom remarries, like, his dad died of cancer. My stepmom's husband died before of cancer, and my stepsister was 1 year old. She was like basically like my little sister, because she came into our family, or she was like, I think she was 2 when she came into our family, and he died when she was 1. So my dad basically became her dad. But when you have these mixed families, it becomes difficult. Around Christmas even, it just felt weird energy, because my younger sister and stepbrother would get like MacBooks in their stocking. They would get kittens, anything they asked for. But when my brother and I begged for a puppy, it was like never even considered. Or we'd get things from the dollar store, and this is obviously privileged problems, but at the same time, it wasn't even about the things. It still felt just, this is such favoritism. And then we felt like when we came to like lunches and buying food, we couldn't even like buy what we wanted anymore, because my stepmom kind of like had control of all the groceries, what we buy, and we could never really go and buy our things anymore. She was doing all that. She was doing the cooking. Like, I if I wanted fruit, it would be like, that's like, no, we're not eating fruit. If I wanted this, then she'd just put them in stepchildren's lunches and not ours. And then my sister said that she found some of the foods that, like the nicer foods or whatever, snacks, which doesn't even make sense, because my dad had plenty of money that we could have bought whatever food we wanted. It was just like kind of a control thing to be like, I run the rules around here. My dad had a really hard time kind of like sticking up for us. That became a huge problem, not just with me, but with my brother as well. And then my sister is like the complete opposite of me, a complete extrovert. Yeah, she just was like life of the party, never home. I didn't really see how it solely affected her, I guess, in certain ways. She was not coming and voicing it to me. We never like had a deep conversation in my life. She was really reactive in certain ways when she was home, and I would see her, she was in her room getting ready, doing her own things, or she was throwing a tantrum. It really was like a comedy show, truly. Every time I tried to like do something with her, I would like try to make a snack for us and cook something for her, and I would like, let's have a movie night, like let's have a sister's night. She didn't want to. We never really spent much time together, but I could tell in her outbursts of violences and how her rage that obviously things were affecting her. It's just that she handled it very different than us. My brother would come to me and I'm like, oh, this feels so weird. But my brother is kind of keep the peace kind of guy, the golden child. I've kind of come across these terms over the last couple of years of scapegoat, golden child. And then there's like this older sister child thing, which I feel like I was kind of the older sister, I guess, in a lot of ways. I guess it would fit with her for certain other ways. I don't know. I've always felt kind of like I've looked after my younger siblings, or especially my brother. I don't know why she got kicked out of my dad's house, but she got kicked out of my dad's house quite a few times. I don't know how old she was, but that's also why we didn't see each other up. She was like kicked out. I don't think she was kicked out for long. She went to my grandmother's, actually. I think she was like living with my grandmothers, and I guess that bonded them. I don't remember. I think she stole clothes from my stepmother or something. I just stopped going to my dad's for a long time. Even though I liked my dad's house a lot better, even though it was much nicer than my mom's, I didn't really feel safe there anymore. I did not feel like I could be myself or I could do anything I wanted. I felt like I was constantly being interrogated. I just felt like I couldn't even have my friends over. Like I just couldn't do anything. I kind of like tried to talk to my dad about this and be like, why can't we do anything anymore? And our relationship kind of like went downhill because my dad would never stick up to us for my stepmom. He would try, and I know he would try because I would hear him, but then what would happen is that she would just go completely quiet or something, or like would stop cooking or doing certain things which he would need, and it's like almost like he needed that or something. So he never really put his foot down with us. I think it's very tricky when you're in his position, because what are you supposed to do when you get remarried? Who comes first? You shouldn't have to choose, but it's like she was constantly putting us in positions where we're like, choose. Our mixed family like just didn't mix. It didn't feel harmonious, and my dad was kind of like, well, this is my girlfriend, so you're gonna have to get with it. But I think that like caused a lot more damage that he didn't see. Like he always thought we would just like get over it. We never really did. We just all became very distant because of it. And then there was things where like my sister was always a problem child there. She would do crazy things. Like she did crazy things. She pushed I think it was my stepmom. I don't know, because I came home right when there was like cops in our driveway, and I came home one time, and I think I forget how old I was. I was a preteen. I was like my early teenage years, and she like pushed someone down the stairs, like very, very, very violent. And she was really the only like violent person in our house. She's the only person that was ever violent and hands-on and like like truly abusive in that way. Everyone else was abusive and emotional abuse. She threw this hot bowl of soup at my head, to my little sister. Like she would lock her in her room, and my little sister this age gap is so bad because my sister was like 3 years older than me. I'm 5 years older than my stepsister. That's 8 years. Like when you're 8 years older, you're supposed to be protecting her, and my parents were gone. My little sister was stuck in her room. I forget what the hell she was doing this for. Like it's actually so mental. I was like, I'm going to my mom's where it's safe and I can study, because I also at this age became like was starting to like become obsessed with my academics. But my mom, she got remarried how old was I when she got remarried? I think she was actually in university, but we bought a house together. Like we sold the house my mom got when my parents got divorced. When I think I was 14, we sold that house. Then for the summer we went to Florida, and then we came back, and then starting September grade 9 we were in this brand new house. This is a house that she bought with her now husband. Her husband was raised in Toronto, I believe, or was raised somewhere in Canada, but he had so much instilled in him from his parents' culture, because his dad came over from China, so he's Chinese, and his dad had a Chinese restaurant, like an authentic Chinese restaurant, and his dad was always like was very strict with him, like you need to be perfect, the house is like clean and has to be perfect all the time, and you have to be a doctor, and all of this like expectations of him. And he's a pharmacist. Anyway, so like we bought this house together, and a lot of the reason why we could buy this nice house is because of his income. Because yes, my mom had some money from child support, and then became a pharmacy technician after my parents got divorced, where she was a stay-at-home mother, but it wasn't obviously enough to buy a house like that. So we bought a house that became like his house. So I also never felt safe in that house anymore. Then when my mental health started to get like really, really bad, I went to my mom and I was like, Mom, I am like having suicidal thoughts. At this point, like I went to her, it was really bad. Like my mental health was really bad and I had panic attacks. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I need help. She told me that I'm asking for attention. That's what she said. She said, now that your sister is not here, she's out of the house, I know deep in my bones, like, I was truly suicidal. Like, people did not know. It was not for attention. Like, I didn't want to die, but I was very prepared at times to take my own life. And I did try at times to take my own life. Like, I slit my wrist open multiple times, and I probably could have tried harder if I really wanted to die, but I didn't. So she drove me to the city and she brought me to the children's hospital because I was a child, and she left me there. And this was an hour away. There's no buses from, I don't think there wasn't at the time, from Halifax to the valley. And she said, you could come back when you're better because like I have work to do. You're so selfish. This is such a stress on my mental health. Like I can't have a daughter that's like just saying she's gonna kill herself. Like, do you know the stress that this causes on me? So I became homeless at that age, and things were bad with my dad. So at that point, my stepmom, it was like just my brother and her kids living there. We weren't allowed to go back actually at that point. They had changed the locks and the keys, or she did, and my dad kind of like just ignored it. And my dad started to take things out on me because I kind of am like the spitting image of my mother, and in a lot of ways I was similar to her. Like, we're both Pisces, I don't know, a lot of ways I was very similar to her, and he hated that I was close with my mom. Before the suicidal thing, I was like detached to my hip to my mom. She made my dad just seem like he was much worse than he was, and my dad's like a good guy. It's just things are complicated. But I kind of was like, Dad, like, you know, this, because I would see through his patterns, and I just felt like I was the family therapist, and like none of these things that my dad would say, he would never say to my brother, he would never say to my sister, because first of all, I was the sensitive child and I was always there to listen, and I felt their pain. Like, I understood both of their situations, so I would hear both of their things. And then also my dad would be like, oh, you just love your mother so much, and like, we'll just go to your mother and like get your mother to pay for everything. And that's the other thing, where like I was in sports and I loved my sports. Like, I loved dance, and I was in soccer as well, but I was in soccer, like I never paid much attention to soccer. I don't know why. Like, I was on the high performance team because I never ever practiced. And same thing with dance. Like, I never had any room or space, or I never practiced, and because I just had so much going on in my life, where like I never practiced, but I still really loved dance. And I felt like soccer was more like a social thing, where I was like a social thing, like if I get on the high performance team, it would be good. But I don't know, I really loved dance, but I never became like so good at it, because I mean, I was like in competitions for years and stuff like that, but I just like had a lot of things going on, I guess. But also because of the money, I don't know, I felt like my dad could easily put us in dance, but he was like, nope, go get your mother to pay for it. And my mother was a good mother, like actually in a lot of ways. And it's like, she's not a villain in my eyes. She would do these things. I'm like, what the fuck? Because it's not like she was a bad person. Like, she would do things for us, and she was always giving, and she made Christmas magical and always got us what we really wanted. On summers, we'd go to Maine and we'd go shopping, and I mean, usually we'd have to save our own money to go shopping, but she would actually like really try to make an effort to give us things that she wished she had. And she did make an effort when it came to my learning, which my dad was like, I don't get it, because the school board came to us because of the way I learned, because it was like an outlier. Because the way I learned, it just was different. And when I say different, it wasn't like, oh, you have ADHD and you have to go lower level class. It was like, I just was like a complete opposite brain than other people. And so because of that, like, they were offering me tests that usually would cost like $10,000, $5,000, $2,000. There's all these different ones I did to do kind of for free. My thing was flagged. I don't know. I think I explained this before. Anyways, like, my mom was like kind of aware of it. Like, she wasn't aware of the extent of it because she wasn't at school every day. And, like, I was being pulled out of classes in these exam rooms. She wasn't the one like having the conversation with like these people, but she was kind of like trying to support me. She did drive me to like a couple hours one way to meet this person that was like an extreme specialist, and then I had to drive another time, and she was like very supportive of that, I guess. And she wasn't like she was like this bad person, you know what I mean? Like, my mom really did try. And then I was constantly sick, and then she also paid for me to get this very expensive naturopathic test when I was younger, because the doctors could not help me. Like, I was constantly with the doctors. They're like, there's nothing wrong with you. You just have like crippling anxiety. Like, they're like, you have chronic anxiety. There's nothing we can do to help you. So I kind of tried to turn to naturopathy, and my mom and I would go to a naturopath. I got this test done. You know how for allergies, they poke you or stuff like that and they test you, but this was not. This was, you take your blood, you centrifuge it, and they send it off to, what's it called? Like, they sent it off to Alberta, and they test you for all these different food allergies. So all these different food allergies came up, or sensitivities like gluten. That was a huge thing for me. I mean, I eat sourdough now, and it doesn't really affect me once in a while, but gluten came up, dairy, all these different things came up, and she paid for that. It was like hundreds of dollars. And there's certain things that my mom would be very supportive with when it came to emotion. That's what I realized. It's when it comes to emotion with my parents, no, they're not. They can't handle it. They both can't handle it. I was a very sensitive child. I constantly crying, constantly being the therapist for my parents, constantly, which I understand, like me being the therapist for my mom. That was what made me like go against my dad. I think it was just like very shocking, I guess, to be like, how can you be a good mom and then like be such a bad mom, abandon me and then tell me to go to an orphanage. That was like really messed up for me, but obviously I still needed my mom. My mom knew that, and she kind of was like, well, if you're gonna live under my house, you have to agree to go to therapy. And I'm like, of course I'll go to therapy. Like, I want help. I didn't want to die. I wanted help. I had no choice but to take medicine. Every morning she would force it down my throat. She said, you're not living under my roof unless you're taking this medicine. So every morning she would watch me swallow it. Couldn't get out of it. She's like, you need a refill on your medicine. I said, no, I don't. It's good. She said, yes, you do. And then she found out I was not taking it because it made things 20 times worse. So every morning she would say, you're taking it or you're not staying here. So I like literally forced it basically down my throat. And the thing is, like, I've always was like, why are you doing this? I'm telling you, this is not helping me. Maybe she was trying to help me. I don't want to think that she was intentionally wanting to destroy me. I think maybe that's just like how she knew how to help me, and it didn't matter if I said this is not working. It's just the only way she knew how. So when it came to the therapy thing in Canada, okay, yeah, healthcare is free, but it takes so much longer to get into specialists. Like, it takes forever. I don't know how it is in the States. I think when you pay for healthcare, it's like, I think you can just see, there's so many different people you can just see because you're paying for it. What happened that first time I went to the hospital, and when I was younger, I stayed there all night, and they're like, we're gonna have to release you. And I'm like, I'm suicidal. You don't even have a therapist I can talk to. There's nothing you can do for me. There was no help. The people that are supposed to be healers, the hospital that programs themselves to be healers to help you, there was no one that could actually sit there and help me. They'd ask me some generic questions like, why are you feeling this way? I don't know. The stupidest questions you could ever think of. So eventually, I forget how I got back to the valley. I literally can't remember that part. I probably blocked it out. But I eventually was back home, back in school at my mom's, not really at my dad's, on medicine. And I forget what day it was, but it was like every night on this day, I think it was a Thursday, I had to go to therapy. So my mom would drive me, and she would drive me quite a while. It was like she drove me to this other town, which was like 15 minutes away or something each way. I would have this meeting with this guy, and it took months. First of all, I think it took months to get into this guy because there's just like no therapist available. There was actually like, I was on a wait list at the hospital for months, and we weren't having any luck with that. So my mom found this. He wasn't even a therapist. It was like a social worker, and I had to use up all my health care on that. I used to always get massages and stuff. Like, I would always use my money for that because we get a certain amount of allowance, where I forget what it was. Like, the insurance we had was pretty good. You can get 8 paid sessions or something like that. So that's kind of how it was. And I was just like sitting there talking to this guy, and he was just not giving me any concrete advice. He was just looking at me like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck have you been through? And I told him what happened to me at this party and how I was drugged, and just, you know, what happened with that, and how this thing was going around school, and how I don't even know what happened, and because I was drugged and all this stuff. And I remember explaining how I could see myself losing myself, I could see my mind going, and like, I don't know how to grasp onto it. I know these medications aren't for me, but like, he never advocated to my mom. He was clearly just in it for the money. I'm saying every therapist like this, he wasn't even a freaking therapist, like a social worker or something. Not saying that they can't help you, but I'm a big believer that if someone has not transcended their own trauma, or has not experienced maybe something that you've been through so traumatic, and when it comes to certain things I've experienced, like, how on earth, how could he help me? Like, how could he help me with that? He couldn't. And he was like, you seem to have a very good understanding of how you feel. I'm like, yeah, I do. So why do I need you? Because you're not helping me. And I kept saying to him, I want something tangible to leave with. He's like, you just need to talk and have someone to listen to you. I'm like, no, that's not what I need at all. I need to see the pattern, and I need to understand how I can fix this and how I can break the cycle. But he couldn't give that to me. And I would tell my mom, she's like, oh, let's go back. So I ended up blowing all my insurance money on that, and And of course it did not help. And then there's periods my mental health would flare up because the medicine was making it worse. I remember that I had this teacher as well. I swear to God, some teachers are so messed up. I had these teachers at school where I remember like I was really good at equations and stuff like that. So when it came to like chemistry or math, I was not good at mental math. Like I could not do mental math, but I could do. The harder the calculus got, the easier it was. I was always talking to this this guy in chemistry class, and we were always just like rambling. We kind of had a thing. We were friends mostly. So she was always like pissed off, and she's like, why are you wearing that? It's too short. Like, are you cheating? Are you this? And like, you just don't understand my brain, asshole. Stop trying to categorize me. And so I don't know, I just felt like interrogated by teachers. And there's like this one teacher that also my freaking chemistry teacher, she was the IB chemistry teacher. Like, I can't spend a year with this person, so I'm like, I can't. Anyways, her husband offered to drive me to school. Her husband tried to touch me, and he was like a complete pervert. I'm pretty sure he actually got expelled from that from other girls. I didn't say anything, but probably should have. I don't know. So I think she kind of knew, and I think she like had animosity towards me because of that. And then I had this other teacher who was just like, I don't understand what her problem was with me, but she like attacked me in the bathroom. Like, what the fuck's your problem? She kept saying like, you missed this this class, and like you have to make it up, and like she was like set on humiliating me. So I was like, I'm not going back to this class. I don't care. This was like my final year, and I was like, I don't care if I like literally fail. Like, I was so obsessed with maintaining like almost perfect average. I think in like grade 11 I had like a 98 average or something like that, or 97 or 98. And then in last semester at grade 12 it just like plummeted because I just stopped going, and she was just like, I'm failing you if you stop skipping class. I'm like, I'm not skipping class. I have this note of how I'm getting this like test done with this person who is flying from a different part of Canada to meet with me. And she would be like, excuses. And I went to the office. I was like, can you help me with this? And then he loved seeing me cry. He liked power trips and shit. So just because someone has education and gets a job in a system, that doesn't mean they're mature. Okay, like sometimes people and bullies are not just the high school students. Like sometimes they're the teachers, and like they're just like, jealous of you. I swear. Maybe that's a little bit of a tangent, but like, who cares? This is my story time for this video. I feel like other videos I might do less about me, but I also think that this is kind of what I would want to listen to, so that's kind of why I decided to just talk about it and make it. Because my other videos I've tried to like be so structured a little bit, and like I really want to provide value, but it takes me so long to conceptualize certain things. I just really wanted to sit down and talk about this and kind of explore it myself, because also we'll get to where I'm at now. So where does that leave me? That leaves me in high school, right? A lot of it's blurry, but I ended up going back to my dad's like once in a while and trying to talk to him, and you know, obviously I would play by their rules and just try to have a relationship with them. I was kind of there once in a while. I did have a boyfriend when I was 16. We spent some of the summer together doing activity things like biking, I don't know, going to my cottage, I don't know. And the summer was kind of like nice because we would go to my cottage, and at the cottage it was like just different. And then my mom's, if we were with her for half the summer, we'd usually just go to Maine, so it would kind of be nice. Or I'd be working. I feel like I worked a lot in the summers too, doing different things. So we get to the end of high school, and the end of high school, because of these teachers that were bullying me, I'm like, I'm not going to class just because I was not going. Like, I was not even doing certain tasks. I was like, fuck this, I didn't give a shit. But also I already had scholarship to my university, and I only applied to one university, which was close to me, because it was not my dream university. If you told me 2 years before that if I would be applying to that university, I would have laughed in your face. I'd be like, no, like, I'm going to Harvard. I'm going to extremely academic university. And actually, when I was in grade 11, I was either in grade 10 or grade 11, I applied to this college. What was it called? I think it was called United World College, where I was going to do my university year early. And I actually only applied this is kind of petty, but I actually only applied to this because there was this girl in school, which was actually the valedictorian, which I thought was my friend. Like, I thought we were becoming friends. In this class for English, we were supposed to pick a partner. We were supposed to read each other's paper and to give advice on each other's writing paper. And she said that, like, I'm a horrible writer. She said something about, like, I'm a horrible writer. I'm supposed to give advice on each other's paper. And then I started to ask her, like, well, why? Like, do you have any advice for punctuation and all this stuff? And then she went and she told my English teacher that I was, like, harassing her. What the hell? And then she was telling me about this school called United World College. I'm like, that's so cool, that's so interesting. Or she was talking about to the class, and I said, oh, it's very, very cool. And she's like, you would never get in, like, don't even try applying. I'm like, why would you think I would never get in? I actually think I just got higher than her on that our test that we were in one of the same classes for. And she said, well, you don't play a musical instrument. How on earth would you know if I played a musical instrument or not, first of all? Like, why would someone even say that? How do you know if I play a musical instrument or not? And she's like, you don't do extracurricular activities. Meanwhile, I was in track and field. I was in student council. I was in the school musical. I was constantly volunteering for organizations and raising money for them. What the hell is this girl going on about? She's like, it's not enough. You have to be like basically perfect. It's like getting into an Ivy League, getting to this, which I don't think it's as hard. Anyways, what happens? I was like, you know what? I'm going to apply. I spent like 2 weeks applying, writing essays for this. I ended up getting up an interview and she doesn't. I didn't end up going to the interview because I was in Italy at the time. And this was when I was 16. I know this when I was 16 because I went in the winter. We went on a school trip to Italy. I had money saved from doing my thing, so I went on a school trip to Italy. It was like not a school trip, it was with this organization where people in the school were going on this trip across Italy and Greece. Anyways, the point was I was very ambitious, but then when I got to end of high school, the last semester, like everything tanked. It didn't matter because I just was going to the school around me, which is a good school. I'm pretty sure actually it's ranked one of the best for undergraduates in Canada, but it just was like compared to my achieving standards, it was not even close. People were getting in with like 70s, I think, or 80s, or I think even probably 70s. They probably got into there. So I was not really like impressed with it. I stopped caring. I became numb. Like, I actually became hollow and numb, and I saw myself just starting to lose myself. And then there was this guy, the person that did something to me, he was like blackmailing me. And that was like the only thing I think I still cared about, was like social things. I don't know what the fuck was wrong with me, like why I didn't go to the police or something. I just was like, let him blackmail me, I guess. And I did what he wanted, like walk around the school with him. Like, what the fuck? It was just so messed up. It was all so messed up. Anyways, I get to end of high school. I didn't want to go to graduation. I just like gave up on what everyone thought of me. I think at this point my average went from like 98 to like 90 or 89 or something like that, because I just didn't go to like 5 of my classes for like 2 months. So obviously my grades like plummeted when I was graduating. I didn't want to go because part of me didn't care anymore. Like, I just was so numb. I was so hollow. I felt so depressed. I was extremely depressed. The suicidal thoughts kind of went from like, okay, well, I made a choice to not do that, and I kind of became like not suicidal, but became far more depressed. I remember having a moment where I was just like, okay, well, let me just try to move on and forget this with my mom and stop looking for emotional availability or love or support from her and all this stuff. I just became a shell of myself. When it came to university, I stayed at my mom's like off and on, because when I went there for the first year before I transferred, because I was like, I don't like it here. It's too close to home. Anyways, I stayed at my mom's because my parents kind of, in that sense, I felt like they kind of fucked me over, where, well, my dad was supposed to, like, my dad basically told me my whole life, you never have to worry about education, like, I'm gonna pay for it. He always told me that. When I was quite young, I had a lot of money saved. When I was like 14 to 15 and 16, I had quite a bit of money. Like, I had thousands. I would do all these like jobs that paid. I would babysit in expensive places as well. Like, I would babysit for so many different people. A lot of people recommended me as a babysitter, so I'd like I would actually babysit so much throughout high school. I made a lot of money through that way and in different ways. So I was like, I kind of had like quite a bit of money, but my dad was like, spend your money, because you don't never have to worry about that. Like, I'm gonna pay for your dorm, I'm gonna pay for your education, like something you have to worry about. And I didn't think I would have to worry about that, because my dad's a business owner. Like, he has money and he can just raise his income as well if he actually wanted more. And then when my sister went to university, she went to that university as well, but she went for like a semester and then failed everything because she was just partying and dropped out. But my dad paid for her dorm and paid for her semester, but it wasn't the case with me. So I couldn't get really much student loan, which I feel like I've explained this before. I didn't get much student loan. I really was like, if I'm going to university, I actually had no really option but to stay at my mom's, because she would get child support, and she's like, okay, well, you can stay here because you're gonna get child support. And that was kind of like why I had to stay at my mom's. My mom was kind of nice. She got a new car and then she gave me her old one to use. I had to pay for, even though she was getting like $1,500 a month or more for just me to live there for my dad, I still feel like I had to pay for gas and everything, which is whatever. I still had to buy my food and stuff like that. Well, she would buy some food, but I would eat so healthy. And again, like, if I wanted to eat healthy, I mean, she ate healthy, but it was just not what I ate. And I think I was vegan at the time as well. I don't know. So I would just go to university and be there all the time. And I had this girl that she went to my high school, actually. We weren't really friends. But then she kept asking me to hang out in university. I was like, okay. And I felt like in university I became really weird. I just was like to myself. I just became very kind of weird, and the people that I went to high school with, which were not really, I would say, like that cool. Like I was kind of friends with, not really, like kind of. I would like hang with them at that university because they went to that university, but they became like kind of cool, I guess, at that university. And I guess we sometimes would like all hang out together, but I don't know, we weren't like deeply close. But then like some of these people in this group were guys, and I felt like these guys, there was problems in that area because this guy had a girlfriend, and his girlfriend was like, why are you always around with my boyfriend? But I'm like, well, your boyfriend is my friend, and he keeps asking me like, can I do your homework? I'm pretty sure he had a crush on me like years ago, and he would actually like in high school, this guy would actually like come over. He asked me to come over to do my homework to help me with math, because okay, this guy's like a genius with math, and so I kind of just let him to see if he would. I felt like we were friends, but then this other one, I don't know, he just came like a complete ego guy. Went from like sleeping with no one in high school to like sleeping with like tons of girls in university, and became like one of those guys. And then I had this one girlfriend at the university, which I'm still friends with her to this day. We just have a very different life, so we don't see each other, but I love her. Besides that, just was like never really cared about meeting new people. I guess I met some new people, but I hardly went to class, and yeah, I just became like a loner and just still was really depressed. And then I was like, I need to change, so I changed universities. How did I do this? Because I know I needed money to do that, and my mom was like pissed. She was so mad when I told her I was switching universities. She kicked me out, and she made this like huge thing about it. So I ended up my second semester of this university going and staying in residence. I started talking to my dad. My dad helped me a little bit move into that residence, but I think he gave me, I forget how much it was, like $500. I had to get a job, and I had savings, and I had to blow it kind of on that. But I also was like, well, what am I supposed to do? That summer I got a job, and that's all I did was work, and I had to go back to my mom's. And she was like, fine, come back, you get child support again. But to get child support, I have to be in school. And so I had to do like full-time school in the summer. And I also got a job at Harvey's, unfortunately. But yeah, I just worked so much, and I saved, and then I sold clothes as well. And this was a summer where I actually sold, I think I sold like quite a bit of money of clothes, and then I was able to move to the city. And then when I went to the city, I got 2 jobs so I could go to school. It's not like my parents could not have helped me. It was also pissing me off because my dad was telling me about how he bought this $13,000 side-by-side, and my dad already had a fishing boat, a pontoon boat, a speed boat. My dad has a Rolex on his watch, which was obviously passed down from my grandfather, but just bought a new car. Has 2 properties, I think more than 2 properties, I don't even know. And I'm just like, why am I struggling this much when you clearly could help me? That's what I kind of thought. I've never said this directly to him, but that's what I felt. I just like did not respect my dad, and it just made me sad because like when my dad and I were younger, like my dad was like, he was like the best dad ever. When I was little, he built me a skating rink in my backyard. He literally built me a skating rink, and he was such a good dad in that way, where I wanted to do figure skating, and he said, well, you are not going to do figure skating unless you're doing hockey because I want you to be tough. I feel like my dad did show me love in a lot of ways, but it was very complicated because my dad, he started to look at me as like my mom and like take out all of his anger, which he had a lot. They hated each other when they got divorced, and they're like, oh, your mom, she would just give me the cold shoulder and all of this stuff. And then my dad would be like, he would never apologize, and he would just, it was just like I was constantly in the middle of it. And I look at my sister who's out living her best life. My dad paid for her apartment, my older sister. I think he gave her a monthly allowance, and I was like, what the hell? My sister looks like me kind of, but she also looks way more like my dad. She was born with like bright blonde hair, and my mom's like brunette and looks, so anyways, I feel like she was never a target. My dad was also like, well, your sister needs help because she was not in the academics like I was in the academics, and she never had like ambition. So my dad was kind of like, if I don't help my sister, her dream job was working at Aritzia Forever, and she did work at Aritzia Forever. So that was kind of my dad's justification. But I just felt like my dad just treated me different than he treated all of my other siblings. Like he paid for my little sister's dance, even though my little sister had this like trust fund from her dad that died, and then it paid for my brother's hockey, and then came to me. It was just a completely different treatment. I would say like when it came to my relationship with my dad, this has been consistently one of the major problems. Why does it look like you have everything to everyone? Comes up to me and they're like, oh, your dad is rich. Like how lucky for you. I don't really think my dad's rich. He's not rich. He's above average. I never really received any of that. So it's kind of ridiculous for a child, in my opinion, to be struggling with money so much and to work as many jobs as I worked and to just struggle so much financially and to be homeless so many different times when you clearly could take away that pain in a second. Why wouldn't you? And it kind of made me start to think, did my parents want me to fail? Do they want me to fail? Because also when I had a yard sale when I was younger, because I said I was always selling clothes, we'd have these yard sales, and I remember I made hundreds and hundreds of dollars at my dad's house in this one yard sale day, and he was selling stuff there too. He got like literally mad that I made more than him. He was like literally upset and like threatened by it or something. And I'm like, what the hell? So you can see how all of this is confusing, because then my dad would do certain things when I was younger and he would treat me like I was a princess. I don't know. It's just been very, very confusing. Okay, so fast forward, I went to Bali, COVID-19, came back because I was forced to come back from the government, and I was forced to go to my mom's. And my mom, again, she's like, you can come. She just wanted the child support. I was with my mom, and I forgot to mention before, since I moved into our house, my mom's house, new house, when we were 14, I was 14 in grade 9, living with him, my mom's new husband became this like whole new thing. Our house was always messy. We were always in the go. That's just how it was. It was never a problem. And when my mom was single and we were like living alone for those years, 8 to 13, I was constantly trying to help around the house. I was constantly doing dishes. Like my brother would be playing video games, but I would try to do the dishes for my mom. So when she came back from her job, even though I just came back from school, I would just try it so she wouldn't have to be so stressed, and I would cook for her and I would do all these things for her. My mom would always say, you're so thoughtful, and it was so strange because she would always tell me like, you're so thoughtful, and she said, my daughter is this old and I can trust her to leave her at the house alone. And it was so true. Like I was just so independent from such a young age. I could see how my mom was just so stressed and how it was just kind of sad because she would eat Haagen-Dazs at late at night by herself and watch Grey's Anatomy. And we kind of bonded of that. Like we both loved Grey's Anatomy, and I became obsessed with like trying to be a doctor. We had things that we were like very close and similar natured because of. But then when she met her husband, he was like very nice at the beginning. We liked him and all this stuff, but it was very clear he was very interested in just her. He was not interested in being a stepfather except to my brother. He was interested in having a relationship with my brother, which was like this weird sexist thing. I don't know if it's like a cultural thing in China or something. Not interested in a relationship with us girls. And it was just so weird. At the beginning, he was very interested in the first couple Christmases before we moved in. He bought us a Christmas card and actually gave me a $25 gift card. And I'm like, we like him. He's so nice. Like, he has to do that. That's so thoughtful. And then every Christmas since we moved in, it became completely different. When he came home, he never even said hi to me. I would be like, hi. He wouldn't say hi back half the time. It felt like very hostile, and I'm like, what the hell? He was just so obsessed with everything being so clean. I swear, if I left one fork in the sink and like went to use the washroom and I would come back, he'd be like, did you leave this? And then he would like kind of lie about a little bit things sometimes. I'm like, he's literally out to get me. And I felt like it's the same situation where he kind of like wanted us out of the house, I swear. But it was so weird. Like, he was so interested in bonding with my little brother. Families and remarrying, it's part of life, and you're not necessarily meant to be with one person forever if you don't get along. But at the same time, I just think I lost so much respect for my parents. These were our homes, and we're the ones really with the kids, and like, you just let them come over and take over, and how they like literally put their codependency for relationships and their needs above their kids. I was just shocked because my mom was always I felt like a good mom before this. Up to the age of 12, like, my mom was just so giving. It was like, she's so giving, and it was like she would basically do anything for us, and we were like our whole lives. And so it was actually kind of shocking. And like, she like always drive us to sports, and like, we were her priority. See how for love, how she completely like bended and basically was like willing to disregard me, disregard us. It's just so strange to be like so close with someone, just to go from that to don't talking for years. I still kind of tear up like talking about it now, because I was just thinking about how my mom and I really were really attached at the hip. We would like lay down together and cuddle. My mom and I, like, I felt so safe with her. I'd rather hang out with her than my friends on like a Friday night, or study and be with her watching Grey's Anatomy. We continued to lose that. It wasn't like the second that we moved in that house, it started to become like that. And then we still watched Grey's Anatomy until I was like 16 off and on, but we had those problems, and those problems never resolved itself. What happens next, right, is that I come back from Bali and I stay there, and then I end up having to leave my mental health. I felt very free when I was away traveling Bali, and then I went to London au pairing, and then I came from London back to Nova Scotia. I felt very different than when I left. I felt very like I knew myself more. And even though I just spent the entire time alone, basically in introspection, I did feel I was exploring different things outside of science. I was exploring photography. I had my camera, which I got before I left, and I saved up for that for a while. Came back, did school. My parents didn't speak them. Was like, we lived in the city, and I think living in the city was like very good for me. I still had to stay in Nova Scotia, had to stay in my province to get this grant or whatever, and it's just going to be cheaper. I still went home for Christmases and stuff, and it was still good. I'm trying to think about, it's like I can't even remember something, my Christmas. I can't even remember like the one I went to away. There's some Christmases I went back for, it would just end up horrible. Like every holiday, if I went back for it, I'd just end up just this huge fight. This blow up fight. It would not just be me. Usually it'd be like my whole family actually fighting, and I would just be sitting there like, what the fuck? It would be like usually my sister causing a huge fight at my dad's because she didn't get like all the material things she wanted. Her religion is material items. At Christmas, I always just felt like it was so awkward because to me, it just feels so fake and so forced. Opening a stocking or something that is so impersonal. Why are we sitting around here pretending to like each other? No one got along. At my dad's, like my family, like no one got along. At my mom's, it just started to become like weirder and weirder and weirder. It used to feel like home because my mom she did put so much energy into Christmas. Or Christmas 2020, was it 2020 or 2021? I can't remember. That ended kind of bad at my mom's, and then at my dad, my sister was just throwing these fights, and then if I went home, it was just like so much rules. It never felt like I was going home. First of all, the second I was like 15, my little sister took over my room. I never even had a room. There's like another Christmas happened. This was 2022. This was after a spiritual awakening. This was right after my grandfather died in November, and then I was like, okay, I want to go home for Christmas, but I really didn't want to because I was just home for Thanksgiving. At Thanksgiving, it was so dysfunctional. The reason why they would always end bad at my dad's is not because I was a problem or I was having a fight. It was kind of like my whole family was fighting, and I was just silent sitting there watching it. If something did ever happen, I would just start crying. My family is like, they scream and I cry. I don't ever scream. If I were to cry, I usually would just go in the washroom to collect myself and just try to center myself. I'm trying to think about what I was even crying about, because I remember I was crying around Christmas. It was something that anytime I tried to say anything or that was like about myself, they always had something to correct about myself. If I sweared, they would be like, stop swearing, even though my dad swears, and that's how I got it from. Everything I said about myself was wrong, and I felt like I couldn't be myself if I said anything about my spiritual journey. Keep in mind, I just went through Kundalini awakening in spring, and this was winter, so I was cuckoo. You go through a Kundalini activation, you're kind of crazy for a little while. I was in a very spiritual world, and I was trying to figure out a lot. I remember sitting there, it became very apparent watching my whole family fight, how this was all dysfunction, and the reason why I was crying is because my nervous system was like trying to regulate myself that this is unsafe. I remember when my dad drove me back to the city. I think my dad drove me back. I needed 2 weeks to recover from that holiday. Like, I can't be around them, and it wasn't necessarily like some catastrophic event, but it was because just my nervous system I was just becoming more and more aware of the cycles of our family and how I could like completely see through at that point. I just felt like my family was completely karmic. That's how I felt in that Christmas. That was the last Christmas I went there. I really felt like I'm an alien. I've always felt like I'm an alien. Now it makes sense. Like, I literally am an alien in this family. I'm not an actual alien, but I am a completely different soul family than this. And I also knew that I had to be born. Like, I immediately knew I had to be born to this kind of family because of the path that I'm on in life. I'm not embarrassed to talk about a lot of this stuff because I know the pattern and I see the pattern. I know that anyone that is kind of an older soul, it tends to be born in a family where you're the scapegoat, or everyone call it, you're the black sheep. You're the one that's outcasted and made it seem like you're crazy, but you're the one that just can see through the dysfunction. It's true. I'm the one in my family who doesn't put up with this dysfunction, this facade, and then they fight like they're maniac, and then they all don't even hug. That would be too personal. They just pretend they like each other 10 minutes later. Can you not see how this is insane? Can you not see how this is crazy? Also, they talk about each other behind each other's back. I would hear things, how this person's horrible, of my whole family. It was just the most toxic thing you can ever think of, but at the same time, we look like we have everything. We really need a reality TV show, honestly. What's presented externally was just not the case, and my family was like, okay, if everything presents well externally, then it must must be going on internally, but I was always like very emotional. Now, I actually felt like there was something wrong with me for so long because my family all was saying, you're so sensitive. Like, you're just so sensitive. And I thought that being sensitive was wrong. I understood that I am sensitive. That's why I start crying, because my body can feel all of this energy. And I realized that, oh, this is empathy. And not everyone has empathy. These other people, they can't feel what I'm feeling. They can't feel this negativity. They're not taking it on as their own. So being in a room, even if nothing happened or was said or something, I just felt like I was taking all this negative energy and it was absorbing into me. And it took me about 2-3 weeks for my nervous system to calm down and to settle down, to stop shaking. I do remember when my dad drove me back that Christmas, because I said I need a couple days, because my dad's birthday was like, it was a Christmas, then my dad's birthday was the 29th, so I stayed until then. I was like, I need to go back for New Year's to reset. And that was the one year I had an apartment of my own, and it was like God sent, I swear. But I had this apartment and I said, please drive me to it. I took like that one day, completely resetting, like crying and like it was like shaking out of me. I felt like all this energy that I was absorbed of all of theirs. They convinced me that for so long that there was just something wrong. I would cry and how I need help and how if I need to be medicated, because I just felt all of this negativity. But now I know I was not weak because of that. I was just open, and that's just how I operate, because empathy is not necessarily a strength. I mean, I feel like the world needs more consideration and more empathy, but also it's not necessarily a strength, because empathy is created from learning how to read a room because you're not safe as a child. I do think about, okay, why me? Why not my sibling? They don't function like this. But I do think that it's all about as well my soul contract and the incarnation. And this is what I immediately understood when I went through my spiritual awakening, is that, and I went home for that Christmas, I understood that this was the family I was born into, but they were not my soul family. Like, these were not my soul family. I started to become like very detached from them. I started to look at them like they were not really my family, and like the soul contracts were over. I need to distance myself from them. Yeah, sometimes I have like blocks in my memory and I can't remember things, and then they'll come back, these memories, and they'll hit me all at once, and I'll just be shocked, just like the memory is just completely there. It's very, very weird, but I think that that's like a common thing that happens when you've gone through certain traumatic or abusive things. When you're in it, like, your brain blocks it because you're trying to survive, and you remember later and you're like, whoa, I don't know, it's just weird. Spring came around, so it happened to be like a year after my awakening, and I just kind of like, I don't think I really saw them. I told myself I'm never going to home for a holiday after that again, and I did. I went home for Easter, and I went to my grandmother's, and then I ended up leaving and crying, and then I had to like regulate myself for 2 weeks after that. I think I'm very in touch with how I feel, and if you're in touch with how you feel and other people are not in touch with their emotions, like, they will gaslight you to think that there's something wrong with you. It kind of became to this point where every time I would hang around my dad, it was kind of like my dad would just try to gaslight me or something, and just say I was too emotional, or just say something. Like, one time he said, oh, you're just too emotional, like, don't be a bitch, or she just said something rude to me. I was just like, why the fuck would I put up with this? Like, what are you giving me? Nothing. Why on earth would I put up with this? I know my dad's a good guy. He is. It's just that he just has this emotional unavailability, because my grandfather was emotional unavailable, because my grandfather was constantly at work, because my grandfather was like a true entrepreneur and was like obsessed with working, and he would just kind of leave the emotional load to my grandmother. So he became emotionally unavailable because the cycles repeat. And then also, when you are a white boy with blonde hair and blue eyes, and you have every girl ever since your entire high school career throwing yourself, like, you don't really like need to become emotionally available, because I don't know, it's just like a lot of things I could see why my dad would never need to be emotionally available, and could kind of just say what he wanted to woman, did what he wanted because he could always just have what he wanted. But not with me, because I'm your daughter and you can't say that, you know? It's not like he was like constantly saying things. It'd be like once in a while, and a lot of people would have let it go, but just to me, I'm like, that's so, like, I'm your daughter, you don't say that to me, it's so rude. I think I was trying to explain to you, considering like how I feel or something, like, I can't be around you. I don't really know what happened or was said, but I just, it was like really bad, our relationship. It was like trying to have a relationship with me, which I've kind of appreciated, because when I was a teenager, it was like he was like pushing me away. So, and he was not even caring that I was like locked out of the house. He's like trying, but then I was also like, this is not enough. I think I just like held him to like a higher standard. If he did say something to like my sister, she just didn't care or something, because she just was like, well, I want money or something. So I don't know. I did care, and I had to distance myself from my dad. I got to this point where I was like, heartbroken. I was distraught having to like cut off my dad because I felt like we made progress and then we'd take a step back and he'd do something and it would leave me in shambles crying. He'd be like, sweetie, and like, I love you. And it just made me feel so close, I guess. And then he'd call me something. I could tell he was like struggling. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to say that or something. Or he would just like say something that made me feel I was just such a problem and I was so sensitive. And it was like it was a problem that I was sensitive. I felt like I had no choice. And this was the first time I consciously realized about no contact, and I realized I have to cut them off. If I want to survive, I have to cut them off. And I wasn't still talking to my brother. It wasn't him. I was like, I need to cut him off. And I've always not really spoken to my sister. Like, my sister and I have never had ever a deep relationship. I always wish we did. I always was like longing for this older sister that I never really had. But with my parents, I did have that relationship, that love, and it was taken away. So I just felt like I had no choice. If I was going to survive, that's how bad it was. That's how much it affected me. That's how distraught I was. If I'm going to survive, I have to cut them off. That's the point I got to. Because being around them, that's how bad they would emotionally affect me, and it would not emotionally affect him. The thing is, like, other people are willing to put up with that. Like my sister and my stepmom, no offense, but like, I think that they're just willing to put up with it. Like, my dad's a good guy, but sometimes like he'll just say something, just get angry. I mean, my dad was literally kicked out of hockey rinks because he was my brother's hockey coach. He was literally kicked out of hockey rinks for his temper. I mean, that's probably where my sister got it from. I don't know. With my sister, it was just, she's just like that too. Like, oh, whatever. Like, they yell, scream, avoid it. They're the same. And I'm more like my mom in the sense where I'm sensitive and I care about a genuine apology, not some fake ass bullshit or jewelry. Like, my dad could never really buy me. Never bribe me. But when it came to my sister, or when it came to my stepmom, she even said to me one time, I asked her where she got this beautiful necklace, and she said, oh, this is what happens when your father makes mistakes. I'm like, interesting. This is why you guys work. It's not that it's wrong, but she was willing to put up with that about him and just accept that about him. I ended up traveling. I ended up leaving the country. I don't even know. I was like not talking to my dad, then talking to my dad. It's actually kind of a blur. Really, it is that time. That winter was kind of like a blur because it was also like I was on this spiritual awakening journey, and I don't know, it was just like in a trance or something. So my lease coming to an end, and the ground was kind of ripped under for my feet. I had that place for a year, it was nice, but then the ground was under my feet. I couldn't continue school because certain things that just happened with school, and I was just like not going to continue. I didn't want to because of my spiritual awakening. It was shown like everything was being ripped away from me, and I had no choice. And part of that was my family. I was being shown you have no choice but to let go of everything. You have to let go of your apartment, you have to let go of your home because it was a year over, but still to let go of everything. People don't understand with spirituality is that it is the reality, and there's times where I'm way more grounded like I am right now, and I don't feel I'm going through this like trance. It's very difficult to describe, but it's like when you activate to a certain knowing and a certain path and a certain spiritual journey, it's very hard. Most often, I've seen it with other people too, you really don't have a choice. Like, you lose everything. You lose your friends, you lose, because like you sound crazy. I know I'm very aware I probably sound crazy to people. My brain chemistry has like completely shifted. This is true to me. This is my truth. And this is the things I've experienced. You really do like lose everything, and it's not a choice. You have to let go of the life that you built that was not your soul, and you have no choice but to embark on the path that was shown to you and or revealed to you, or what. You have no choice but to let go of everything that is not in alignment with your highest soul. I was shown that, like, my family, it was there for a purpose, but it was like I was meant to let go of this, and it was like almost like I was shown that, like, to grieve them, and I did, and I felt like I was grieving them. The reason why I went to go traveling in spring was because I moved out and I went back to my dad's for, again, I went back to my dad. Well, I kind of just like, what the hell am I supposed to do? I didn't know what to do next. I really didn't know what to do. So I went back to my dad's for like a week. My dad was like, come here. And so I move all my stuff into storage or sell it all. And my dad was like, I miss you. He's like, you never come to see me. This will be good this time. Like, you never come. Like, please, like, it'll be fine. Like, it's your home. Saying all this stuff. And then after a week of there, my stepmom's like, you can't stay here forever. You're gonna have to figure out where to go. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. I need to figure out what I'm doing. I knew what I was shown, what I was meant to do with my life, but what I'm shown is gonna take years. It's still gonna take years. It took me years to get the clarity I have now and figure out. So I didn't know what to do. So I was like, can I go to the cottage? They have this property on the waterfront. I'll probably post it on Instagram. The property, they just like redid it, I think, at this point. So they had better heating. They had a brand new fireplace, which is, I'm like, why did you take out the authentic fireplace and put in this fake one? What is wrong with you guys? Anyway, they had a proper shower, because when we first got this place, there wasn't much inside of it. It was kind of this project, like this building project. It's a very, very cool place, middle of forest, but they're like, it's not close to anything. And I'm like, you guys don't understand how much I isolate. Can I go here? They said no, which to me, I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'm here struggling, don't know where to do, don't really have any money. What am I going to do? My stepmom kept pressuring me, and this was like why I had so much beef with her too, because I'm like, what is your problem? You have a huge house, you have a second home that I could easily live in. There's just excuses why I couldn't live in there. You have a workplace with a huge warehouse which has rooms and even a kitchen in there. There's plenty of places where I could easily live, and I could just even stay here and just buy my own food. I had no like shame of moving. I want to move in back with my parents, even if it cost me my mental health, because I knew I just had to lock in and figure everything out. It was not an option for me. So, okay, what am I gonna do? So I started looking after people's pets and stuff like that. When I started to travel again, very cheap. I actually did not want to travel, but it was like the cheapest thing I could do. And I made money. I had this store, this Etsy shop. I started in spring, and I was making like $60 a day or something doing this. It took me like a month to set up, but then after that I was like all passive. Actually, I don't know why I shut that down. I just stopped paying the Etsy fee. I could have made so much money off that, or what the hell's wrong with me? There was some days I made like $300, and it was just like completely passive, like digital planners and stuff I had. I actually put so much effort into these planners. Like, they took me forever. I kind of became like hyper fixated on these things. So I kind of had like some money, and then I was traveling really cheap, and I did that forever. And during this time, I completely cut off my parents. Like, fuck you all. The second I left the country, I went to Abu Dhabi. I hate it there. It's so hot. Anyways, and then I went to Italy, and that was nice. And then I actually started to make money, because in Italy, I don't know what, like I just started writing or something. I started writing online about like spiritual things that I've experienced about my awakening. This was over a year now. I went through it, and I felt like a little bit more level-headed, and I felt like I gained some insight and knowledge about soul contracts and how we meet everyone for a reason, about karmic parents. I really felt like I had the answers. I truly did, and I just started writing about it. And my account, actually don't even use anymore. Maybe I will in the future. I don't know. It's just, I put so much energy into this. Like, it took me so much time. I went from, on this account, 0 to 50,000 followers and like 3 weeks or something like that. Every post had like 3 million views. Now I post something, it's like nothing. But that's because I completely read that account and engaged my post for like 2 years. I felt so fulfilled from that because I had messages of paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of people saying like, you have no idea how much this has helped me. And then I had people that were asking me, can I pay for your time? I had like tons of TED Talk speakers following me. I had tons of people with verified accounts that were like they were messaging me like, can I book your time? For me, I'm just like, I hate speaking. I hate talking to people. There was like one time I did to this girl. She sent me this paragraph, and this girl was from an Ivy League school. This was like the only call I ever took. I think I took like 2, but I just was like, I'll try it, because tons of people were asking me. I never wanted to be a coach, because I'm just constantly realizing I don't have the answers, and that's why I never really did it. I just did it for a couple people, and I was like, this feels wrong. This doesn't feel right. And for some reason, I felt like it was taking away from my purpose, because I kind of felt like if I became successful with what I meant to create in the future, I guess I kind of had ego in that way. I was like, well, people are going to look back and be like, oh, she was the coach. So I just was like, I don't want to do that. And I could have made like a lot of money if I just said yes to so many people, but also something felt so off with it. So I was just like, no. After I took like, I think 2 calls, and they were like asking me after the calls, can I do more? I actually literally turned down money. I'd rather struggle than go against my own nature and do something that doesn't feel wrong. Like, I don't know why, I just didn't feel right. But I mean, I could psychoanalyze it, but I just didn't feel right. If you are doing something like that and putting so much energy into actually producing good value information, it's an energy exchange, and you kind of need money to be able to like continue doing that. Doing that from like 12 hours straight, and if I really am interested in doing something, I have the ability to hyperfixate on these things. But the problem is, like, I want to not just talk about my experience, even though like I had this download, and like this was like my innate understanding, and I do believe if you activate spiritually, everyone kind of gets like their own little piece of like divine knowledge, because you're meant to like infuse that with your craft. I knew I was not meant to do that. I wasn't even meant to talk about spiritual topics or do that. At the time, I didn't know. Like, I knew I was meant to infuse it in what I was meant to write. Doing anything hard is going to take years, and like trust your journey and trust your process. But I don't know. it just felt off to me. And the thing is, I'm fine with suffering if it means I'm following what feels right to me. I was like, okay, well, I do want to make money because I need to support myself. Also, I just felt like this is also taking up all my time. This is kind of killing me. And then I went through like another transition. So what I did is I just completely, I don't know, something shifted in me, and I just was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I literally used that account for like a couple months. That's it. The method I was doing was working perfectly, but I wasn't one of these people that were like was doing, I think that would be a lot of people's dream in social media, to like make money like that. Sometimes you have to like take some steps back and like sacrifice things, and it doesn't make sense to you, but it feels right in your heart and your soul. I just would rather speak from experience and be authentic and be vulnerable. I hope that can help people, and I can only speak from my experience and what I feel and what I know in the moment, because that's constantly changing. The longer I've been on this journey, I am constantly realizing that everything's so much more complex. I can't define these things. I think you really can heal people by being you, and I feel like if you're gonna ever like call people, I don't know, I'm not a therapist. Yes, I've taken psychology classes. Yes, I've done this. Yes, I've transformed my own psyche. I've gone through my own darkness, so I can help someone go through their darkness, but it's just not what I'm meant to do on this earth, right? And like even this is just a part of it, and it's fine to have different side quests. I'm not judging anyone that would ever do that at all. It's just that you have to listen what resonates with you. That didn't resonate with me. I saw this guy on YouTube or something. He was saying how he wants to do this like music career and even through spiritual awakening. He was saying something about kind of similar to me. It's like you see this huge vision, but you're like, how do I get there? And you put one foot in front of the other. And so sometimes like you do have to just trust your journey. And so he started to do tarot because he really wanted to get into it, to trust his gift or something like that. I think way too many people do tarot, and I don't really know how I feel about that. Because I used to listen to those and it like helped me in limerence. I think I have to like stay away from that. He was saying how he felt like he couldn't do that because it would take away. But then he started to say how like there's a new wave of creators. No, like they are going to have their own unique spiritual insights and their unique gifts. And I thought that was cool too. Anyways, that was a little bit of a divergent. I made a hard rule. This was like the first time when I left. I'm not talking to them. Like I even left, baby. I'm free, even though I left my stuff and my dad's where it was. I was like, I'm free, I'm away. I have to cut you guys off. You don't get to know what I'm up to. The thing about my parents, if they have information about my life, that's enough for a relationship with me. Like they just want information to tell their friends. So it looks like we have a relationship. So like they looks like, oh, they know about her life, they know what's going on. And my dad knows everyone, okay? He's always like, oh, I have this person's friend from high school asking about you. I'm like, Dad, these people hate me. These people aren't my friends. They're just curious about me. My parents, more than anything, just want to know what I'm up to, not that like even caring that I'm okay. It looks like they have in my life, or to make up some lie and to embarrass me, especially my mom. So there's that. So I just like, I felt so sad, but I've never felt more free in my life. Like I felt significantly happier than having them in my life. They were really affecting my mental health. After Italy, I went to New York, and I was in New York for a few months. I stopped writing. What was I doing? I was figuring out other things about how can I make money, and then I was going through another spiritual shift. I was like, how can I do this in a way that makes me feel good? I got into like website design. I've learned so many different skills, like it's ridiculous. I learned so many different things. Like I know how to build websites, and now it's so easy because like you can go on Squarespace and it's like all assisted. So I don't know why I was like playing around with Shopify and doing all that. So many different things I've learned. Anyways, so I was going through a shift or something at the time as well. And I was just trying to honor it. And I was like also trying to do YouTube. I don't think I'll ever post these. Oh my god, I could not talk to a camera properly. The vlogs were so bad. I felt so puffy because also I spent so much time on this page that I made that I just was constantly inside all the time, like sitting down. And I just felt, I don't know, I just did not like feel like I looked good. So I didn't really post any of that. And then I felt like actually so vitamin D deficient. So I went to Brazil. Oh yeah, I spent Christmas in New York. And during this time, I was alone for Christmas. This was my first Christmas alone. And now it's so much easier. But that was like very hard. From the beginning of the day, I was like, it's not so bad. I just walked around all of New York, and it was so cool because it was so quiet and no one was on the streets. I was also sad. I was like, I wish I had a family. I wish I had a family that I could be myself around. I was like bawling my eyes out because my dad sent me this like long text, like, I love you so much. Like, I wish you just talked to me. It was probably like his third paragraph message. It was like breaking my heart, because my dad was like acting with his heart. But I was like, no, I'm no contact. I had to ignore them. I had to. I feel like I had no choice. What happens is I go to Brazil and I just stayed in Airbnb for about a month, and I ended up getting really sick, really sick, because I got food poisoning, but then I got sun poisoning. I think February is like one of the hottest months. It was stormy, but it was also so sunny. I remember this one day I went to the beach for way too long, and my skin started to bubble, like the tiny bubbles, and I started to bubble over. And then I don't know how or why I started talking to my sister. I think she was reaching out to me for something. It was so strange why I started talking to my sister. I don't remember on what planet that would happen, but we did start speaking. And I remember I was speaking to my grandmother. I called my grandmother, like, wanted to talk to me, and I called her, and she was like asking me, she's like, come home. And my grandmother was always like very giving and very loving. And then she's also she's complicated. I mean, she is old. She's turning 90 this summer, and I love her. I think she's the coolest grandmother, but also she has some things, you know. She literally told me on the phone to come to her place and that I could stay at her place so I wouldn't have to travel, and I could just stay there because she has how many rooms? She has so many rooms. And then on top of that, above her garage, there's this huge loft which has like a million beds, has a shower, has a bathroom, has all these different things. And then she has like, I don't even know how many acres of land. My sister's lived with her multiple times before, so I was just like, okay, well, I'll go live with my grandmother for just a few months, and well, it would help me to not constantly figure out where I'm going, because when you're traveling so much, like, people think, oh, you're traveling, you're living your best life. No, I'm on my laptop all the time trying to figure out how to be successful or something, to like, so I can actually be stable. This is what I've been doing the last few years, figure out how to be stable in a way that doesn't make me feel iffy and feel weird or like take away all of my time. But then when you're constantly like trying to figure out where you're gonna live next, it's also, you don't have that stability. I would have rather lived with my grandparents or something, or my grandfather was dead, but I'd rather live with my grandmother and figure that out. But I feel like it's taking me longer. Everyone has a different journey, but I feel like things have taken me longer because I've never had a stable place to live, and I'm constantly working and doing these things, which I know is part of life. Yes, I've traveled. Technically, I'm always working. Then what happens is I go into septic shock again. This is my second time in my life had septic shock or something, and I actually felt like I was going to die. But I knew I wasn't going to die because I knew I was here for a reason. And my sister was like, oh, we have this den. She got a new place. At this point, she had a new boyfriend, so I guess they started to live together. They were like, we have a den. You can stay here for a couple of days. I'm actually delusional, because why on earth would I go live with my sister after she's giving me multiple concussions, she's stealing my things? But I just had such a soft spot for her. I literally just felt so emotional. I just wanted a sister. I could never give up on her. Like, I actually couldn't give up on her until I did. Until it was like she killed the love I had for her. And the last time I saw her, I realized this was intentional. She wanted me to be in pain. The problem is that I just have constantly gone back to things until it just broke me, and then there would be space. I would constantly just forget the extent of what happens. Like, I've always been like that. I've always had a hard time leaving people I've loved. Now, like, because of all of this, if someone ever were to enter my life and they were to do something or disrespect me, or I could pick up on their patterns, I'm the first to leave. I will walk away from a situation just because I have a bad feeling about it. But this is very difficult to actually leave these relationships, and it's very difficult to be in them as well. So when I got back and my sister picked me up, my sister's on the surface, very sweet, very kind. And honestly, this was probably the most abusive and most confusing relationship actually in my life, above my parents. Anyway, she picked me up with her new boyfriend, and it was like, oh my god, I'm so excited to see you. And I actually felt like excited to come back to Canada, because I just felt so exhausted from getting sun poisoning in Brazil, and I felt like I was playing into this delusion that I had family and home and that people actually cared about me. She was like so sweet at the beginning, like, I picked you up, oh, here's this. She gave me this prime drink, which I didn't drink. She's like obsessed with those, but they're so bad for you. Then that night, I forget what happened. Something happened where the second I got there to her place and it was like isolated, she sold me this whole elaborate plan. She told me that I'm not going to sleep there, and so then I was stranded, and this place, which I've obviously am from the province, but still I'm like stranded. Where am I supposed to go? I just felt like, are you joking me right now? Not that I was that shocked. I mean, it's partly my fault for expecting her to not be so manipulative. I forget what happened. Something blew up and I was like crying in tears, and then something happened where my dad got involved. Then my grandma gets on the phone, and apparently there's like this whole elaborate plan with my grandma and her or something like this, where my grandma was like, I just wanted to get you home. I wanted you to come back here, but you're gonna have to figure out where to live. So they basically tricked me to come back to Nova Scotia. I think I spent like almost $3,000 coming back because it was just so last minute, and I had a bunch of things, and I had to stop in New York because I left my luggage there. Anyways, I just was in the lobby forever of my sister's place. Meanwhile, I'm watching how my sister's boyfriend is like loving this, like getting a rise out of this. I never seen manipulative sides of her exes, of all of her ex-boyfriends in the past, but this boyfriend that she has now was just like her. I'm like, wow. I could see how the eyes, like the black eyes, and how it's like they literally get a rise out of me crying or me suffering. It was just so crazy and vindictive. I don't like to use the word narcissist so clearly. I actually think there's way too many videos on the internet how people are saying it's just so black and white narcissism, and everyone has traits of narcissism. But this is the kind of thing when you're around this person, it's like the most manipulative thing, and you can't even think about how this person's being so manipulative. I can't even think about these elaborate stories that she comes up with. For so long I tried to figure out why. Like, why is my sister just my number one bully? I think there's many reasons why, because also growing up, whenever she did have a boyfriend, I remember this one boyfriend she had, and she was like very in love with this guy, and he was telling his friend in a group chat how I'm hotter than she is. She found out, and I like hated me for it, which is not my fault, but she hated me for it. She had another boyfriend after that. It was either after or before that. He ended up hitting on me or something after. There's so many reasons why she's just hated me. Also, before I was born, like my parents would say, she wanted to be an only child. When I was born, she tried to push me off of the bed. When I got sick when I was younger, how she just would throw tantrums, like made it all about her. And when I was born, she like threw a tantrum as well. So my parents always said like she wanted to be an only child. So I think it just runs so much deeper than just the boyfriend thing. But that also like leaves a dent on sisters when you have your guys doing that, you know. I always felt like so much resentment towards men from just that alone, because I'm like, you stole my sister from me from doing that. I think that it had an impact on her, because I remember when I did have my ex-boyfriend, she was kind of dancing kind of like naked around the hot tub around him. So my sister is just always, we've always just been like nemesis. But it's always been me like actually wanting a relationship with her, and her fake wanting a relationship with me, and like thinking she wants a relationship with me. But then every time I give her a chance to have a relationship with me, it's her acting so sweet and then like taking and doing something crazy and like sabotaging it or taking it away. And even if I did try to have a relationship with her, it just never would be deep. Anyways, so I find this place to rent, and there's nothing to rent the middle of the winter. There was nothing. It was like the middle of the month where I would have to spend money in a hotel, and I think I didn't have much left at this point. I didn't want to do what I was doing before, and I also didn't feel like I was in a good headspace even if I did want to do that. So I just was like, okay, whatever, I'm just going to move into this place. It was literally the only place I could find. There was no other place that I could move in within a couple days. So I moved into this place, and it was like no lease, and that's what I wanted because I didn't know what I was going to do. And this also caused me like so much resentment towards my family, because I'm like, this was evil. This was downright evil and manipulative. I kind of was updating my dad on what was going on, and he wasn't even like listening to me. He wouldn't even listen. He was like, stop crying. He's like, it's your choice to come back. I was like, okay, well, can I go to the cottage or something for like a month? Then he was like, let me ask my stepmom. And my stepmom was like, no, we don't really want anyone out there because it would just give her anxiety, and giving her anxiety would flare up her MS. So I, rented this room. And so all of this stuff just brings, fuck you, like all of you guys. This is not supportive. This is not what family does. And I know everyone's like, well, you made this decision to travel. You made this decision to live this way. I just was like, I'm going to go figure out what I'm doing next. But this apartment that I had ended up having mold, and it ended up having mice. I just could not think for myself, and then also just like I just could not think for myself, and I ended up staying there way too long because I feel like my nervous system just needed to rest. I just ended up staying there for months, and then summer came, and I tried to reconnect with my mom. I tried to go home to my mother's, even though she moved houses again. She bought a waterfront property, which is on the same lake as my dad's cottage, the same lake that my grandmother lives at. You could not have chosen a different lake. I swear. What is wrong with my family? Anyways, her and her now husband bought a waterfront property. Also, got rid of my dog. Just gave it away. I forgot to tell you that part about when I was at university. She gave away my dog. She didn't even tell me. But of course, that would even surprise me. Just everything's inconvenient. So she got this waterfront property. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go and see her. And then she was like trying to talk to me. And she's like, why can't things just go back to the way they were when we used to be so close? Do you remember? I'm like, well, I'm willing to like forgive you because I understand like high school and all that was a long time ago. But she's never said sorry. She's never could say sorry. I was like, I forgive you. But she's like, you forgive me. You act like I've been such a bad mother. Like I've done everything for you. you. You're so ungrateful. I'm just like the ungrateful daughter, acting like I was attacking her. And she's like, you just like think I'm a horrible mother and I've like sacrificed my whole life for you. And I'm like, that's not what I said at all. I said the thing is, I would love to forget it and move forward, and I have, and I've let it go. I don't even need an apology from you. You know, the past is in the past. But I also said to her, but you know that often things do repeat unless it's addressed. And then she just freaked out and she kicked me out that night. Again, don't know where to go in the middle of the night. And this is in the forest. She is like in the forest and has her driveway and then there's her place and it's on the water of this lake. And she's just telling me how there's a bear at night that's going into her compo. So now I'm out with a grizzly bear. I don't even know what kind of bear it is. Black bear, I think. Then I'm like, okay, that's nice. I guess I'll go to my dad's. I think I went to my grandmother's because my grandmother's was like way closer by. And to go to my dad's, like my dad would have to take the boat. And my dad's at the very opposite end of the lake. And he'd have to like take the boat. And I don't know if he was awake at this point. I don't remember what time it is. And so I think I somehow got to my grandmother's. I don't even remember how I got there. I think I slept there because sometimes like my memory blocks out when it comes to these survival instances and I just don't recall them. It will come back to me. I know memories come back to you eventually. I went back to where I was staying in the city, this horrible traumatic place. It was so disgusting, this place. Like you have no idea. It was infested with mice. It was infested with mold. And these girls, they're renting the other rooms. They were from all over the world. One girl from Bangladesh, one from India. Every time I go back to Canada, it's completely different. It looks completely different. There's a lot of people there. It's very multicultural now. Each year increases so much that it's like you drastically notice it. How there's just a multitude of different people from all over, which is interesting. Anyways, these girls started bullying me. They tried to be friends with me and stuff like this, and they kept coming in my room, and I don't know, I was trying to be friends with them too, and I kind of was, but they kept laughing at like my faith and stuff like this. But then they would like pray 5 times a day, and I would continuously ask what their religions, and they would tell me about them. They mocked that my faith and how I believed in it, and it was all within and all this stuff, which taught me a huge lesson, really strengthened my faith, believed in what I knew. It just taught me a lot about religion. A lot of it is just conditioning. Like we're all creations of the divine. There's no like, oh, I have a real relationship. It's about a relationship with yourself, so I don't want to go into that. But then I'm like, I can't speak to my mom, and maybe it was a mold affecting me in my circumstances. I think mold really had a really big effect on me, and I think my emotions, like I just started to cry more and stuff like that. I was like, I literally felt like an orphan. I'm just coming to terms with the fact that I have no support from my family. I'm basically an orphan. Yeah, my parents are alive, but I have no support from anyone. I just started to cry and grieve, and I guess you could say I feel sorry for myself, but that's just how I felt. It's just ridiculous how my parents are like living in luxury, and this is my situation. Not that they had to provide for me or do anything, but it's like I never had a home to go to, and it was like delusional for me to think I did. I should never have returned to that province. I felt like I was trapped. I actually did feel like I was trapped there. Summer, I just tried to go in nature and not doing anything online, not really speaking much on social media. Ended up living with my sister again after that, which was ridiculous because I'm like, I have to get out of this mold place. I could not think clearly at all. I was so infected by this place. It was like I couldn't sleep. I would stay up all night and sleep in the day to avoid these mice like jumping on my bed. There's a difference between having a couple mice versus like an infestation. Like this place was disgusting. You cannot walk in the hallway without seeing one. It's just, anyways. I know that people live in huts and stuff like that, so I should not be complaining. I ended up going to my sister's because my sister, I think she really needed money at the time. Her boyfriend and her were fighting because her boyfriend was like paying for a lot of the apartment or something. I don't know. She had this extra room, supposed to be her office, but she works for my dad's company, so it's getting bad for my mental health. But like, where am I supposed to go at this point? Like, I had to get out of this place. There was like a bunch of new people coming in September to rent this whole apartment, so we all had to get out. I was just renting like month by month, no contract. So I went to my sister's, and this was like the most horrific time ever. I started to make videos to talk online, and her boyfriend and her were both laughing at me. Based off my sister's and I's history, this was so stupid to do this. I've always never felt ashamed taking a few steps back in life, because when I was shown that I couldn't like continue down this path at school and everything that I was studying for because of my spiritual experiences, my spiritual journey, and I had to let that go, I had to take steps, I could say, back. I just had to go on this path to figure out how am I going to get to what I've been shown I'm meant to do. Go from following the system, and if you just follow the rules of the system and do good at it, you could have this career, but you're working for the system. But when you follow what you've been shown, you're going on this path of complete faith and inner alignment, and you learn so much things along the way. And I've learned so many different things and I'm still continuing it, but it's like a path of complete transcendence. It's just a complete different journey. It's still a path of life to go and to follow the system. It's still rough. You still learn things about yourself. But I think that's just different. Like of going and completely following the unknown, just believing wholeheartedly of everything you've been shown and seen. And because of these experiences, it requires certain things of you. And I feel I had to let go of these things. So I was not embarrassed to take a few steps back because I had a nice apartment before when I was in school, and I had to take setbacks to go do that. But when I was living with her, it was like my mental health was so bad because she would continuously mock me and laugh at me, and then she would do certain things to like get a reaction of me where I'd like start crying. Then her boyfriend would record me and take his camera up to my face. It was just like so invasive, and he like was obsessed with like getting a rise out of me. I swear, probably had a crush on me and probably just was like frustrated, and they would fight like crazy people, and then they would make up, and then I don't know, it's just so toxic. And then she would do something like eat all the food I got, and then she would like, no I didn't. It's just so intense. I would have to lock my door to like lock her out of it, to like try to leave me alone. There was a Starbucks nearby because there was no other places. This was not downtown the city. This was like the next, it wasn't even the city over, it was like the next area over. And there was like a Starbucks, and I would go there and I would get out of the house all day because she was like, I need to work from home, you can't be in here. So I was paying for this rent, but I was not allowed to be in there. And then she had to like unlock the key to let me in because I didn't have a key. It was horrible. Anyways, I was like, I need to get the hell out of here. So I was trying to like, well, I was in surviving mode because I was like trying to survive. I was trying to create, but I was trying to survive. So I was like, I need to get out of here. And so that's when I started to travel again. I need to get rid of everything again. I need to leave. And when I leave this place, I'm never coming back. Sometimes I think about, oh, should I go back to visit my grandmother? Because at the end of the day, she's like, no, am I still my grandmother? And she's turning 90. She might die soon. So I'm like, should I go back sometime? But I don't know. I'll never go back ever to live there. I learned my lesson. I think that the whole thing about this is like everyone's situation is very different. And I think when you go no contact with your family, like every relationship is different, and you kind of have to treat each relationship individual. And I think going no contact is like, it's very rare for someone to just make one decision ever and just stick with that and just stay no contact. I think that's kind of what it is when it comes to family. I think it's different when it comes to relationships and love. But I think when it comes to learn your lesson once, you kind of learn boundaries, and learning boundaries is even a process in itself. But when it comes to your own blood, the people you grew up with and the only thing that you've ever known, having to let go of that in your only family and your blood, it's this process of grieving, and grieving is kind of like feeling the pain until it's just like cycled out of you. I really feel like you have to feel the loss of each of one of them. Over this time I came back though, my dad, because I wasn't speaking to him for a long time, and then we started speaking, and when we started speaking, like we had this another blow up thing, and I was like, I'm not gonna talk to you again. When I said that, I don't know what happened, but he actually like started, he's like, no, I can't lose. He said something where he really stepped up, and he said something like, I can't lose you again. He was like miserable not talking to you, and he said something that really pulled at my heartstrings. What can I do? Because I can't give you what you're asking for. I can't let you go stay at the cottage, which is to me ridiculous. You can come visit for like a weekend. I can do this for you. Even though it's not giving me what I need, I would wish a parent would give me. He's giving me enough to show that he's trying. And I feel like that was enough for me. But I feel like my mom was like not even willing to try. She's like, she was not even willing to like look at herself. My dad was. Ever since that with my dad, like I cut him off for years. We didn't speak for years. And he's like, I'm not doing that again. I had to accept him as he was, and I had to decide all I really needed was to show that, listen, I know he's not perfect, but neither am I, and to show that he was trying. And ever since that, I'm like actually in shock. Relationship has completely grown over the last year and a half. In the last year and a half, we've been in contact. We've grown our relationships. When I was on psychedelics in the summer, I had my heart wide open, and I sent like these really cute voice notes, and so did my mom actually, because I love my parents. Like I love them, and I think that I just look at them as like they're just younger souls. I mean, I would never say that to them because like that sounds so disrespectful. That actually does sound really disrespectful. I've always believed since my awakening, like an evolution of the soul. I've gone through different spiritual philosophies, I guess, since then. And right now I'm in such a weird space where I've like gone into different people's thoughts and theories, and I'm kind of in this existentialism phase again, which is so strange. I need to do a whole podcast about that, but like all these experiences I've had and the different philosophies I've gone through thus far. It's so strange because my dad and I, for so long in my teenage years, we were not good, right? It was my relationship with my mom was way better, but now it's like my relationship with my dad is way better. My heart is starting to become more open to my dad, and it's like I started to like remember the good times we had when we were young, because I feel like my dad was like such a good dad. Yes, he like sometimes swear and I'd go cry, but my dad's like, I feel like he's a really good guy. He has flaws and stuff like this, but And I have to speak about my truth, and God knows they've spoken about lies. You have to be able to speak what you went through. You went through what you went through. I do actually think that some of the reason they do treat me better is because I think they kind of do stalk me. I wish they wouldn't. I wish I could have my safe place, but that's kind of the price you have to pay. I think social media should be for your expression, your soul expression, for alignment, for people to find you, because it makes it like very difficult to be your free true self when people are just looking at what you're doing because they maybe know you and they're judging you and they're talking behind your back, and evil eye is real. I mean, I don't claim it. You can definitely feel that kind of energy. I always block people that sometimes follow me. I don't know. But I think they kind of know I have this. I mean, I think that's why they're also starting to treat me better. I don't think it's pure. I don't think it's 100% pure where they're starting to treat me better, because I think they're more concerned about society and what people think of them. And I mean, everyone has their own lives too. I'm not the center of everyone's world. Listen, that's not what I'm saying. It's just that from what I've seen in my life, how fast things have spread, it's really crazy. I do think that maybe it's not pure, the support. They're being nice now because they don't want me to say anything else. I don't know. I do try to believe the best in people, and sometimes there's things that come up, I rise, I just like observe it. I'm like, okay, well, you can't tell someone that's right or wrong or stuff like that. I just keep it to myself and just try to accept them as they am, even though I'm like, that's kind of annoying. Don't put me in that box. Don't try to make me out to be like that. That's how you see me. I feel like you used to have to explain to people, like my dad, who would like say something. I would just try to explain how I'm like, that's not me. And I just feel so not seen and understood by my family. But like, how could they understand me when they don't understand themselves? Someone that doesn't have your depth will never be able to understand your depth. Like, of course they can't. They don't have any depth. It's not that better than them. It's just that they don't have that multi-dimensionalness to them. Like, they are not 5D people, and that's just the truth. And sometimes I walk around this stuff and like, why am I people pleasing? There are some people that operate in a very 3D way. You're like a 5D person, and you come into like a family that's completely 3D based and completely materialistic, and materialism's a religion in society, and that's all they care about. And you're like this 5D sensitive person. It's not that you're better, but you're extremely different. I know that. So I think it's like, what's the point of me like trying to hold on to this when I know this was just a lesson? But I still do, because they're still my parents and I still have attachment towards them. And I don't know if you can ever get past that. And there's some people like, well, I've done this and I feel so much peace. Well, that's just part of it, because you feel peace 90% of the time, then 10% of the time you feel like a truck hit you with emotion, and that's not what you're not telling other people. I just think it's not linear. You can look up all the advice you want about going no contact with your family, but at the end of the day, like, it's your family. You're never going to get to this place of you're fine with it. I think about death all the time. My dad's friends, he has like 3 best friends. One of them is dying right now, and he's my godfather. The other one just dropped dead recently, like a few months ago. I don't want to manifest this. I don't even want to say this, but I've always had dreams of my dad passing early. It really breaks my heart. Now I just want to make more memories with him, and I've like let go of the past. With my mom, it's a little bit different. Like, I feel like my dad's deeper than my mom, and my dad doesn't like these conversations. If I ever were to talk to him and have a deep conversation with him, it would be like, feel like I'm forcing someone to listen to me, versus I look at myself as, no, I'm a privilege to listen to you. I have so much wisdom. As I begin to speak more, I'll be able to articulate myself more, because I really don't speak to anyone. And sometimes when you don't speak to anyone, you kind of forget to speak. I don't want to be around people that treat me like that, but at the same time, they don't need to know that side of me. It's okay. Not everyone needs to know that side of me, and I can just maybe sit with my dad and just not say anything, and that's okay. We can just be present. To me, it was like, oh, that's wasting time. I always wanted my dad to understand me, but he can't. He just can't. It's okay. I can't talk about any of my things I'm doing, my business or anything of these things. I can talk about on the surface. I kind of felt like if you access to me is a privilege. That's how I felt. Like, if you want to know this about me, you need to have a relationship with me. My parents always like wanted to know these things about me so they could go tell people or something, but they never wanted to know like the actual depths of it, the story, or how I felt. It was always like they just want to know where I am or something. And my mom was always like, why can't you just tell me where you are? That was the thing about, we talked on Christmas, my mom and I, and she promised me that after not speaking for a while, we talked in the summer, which kind of brought us together again, because her father died, my grandfather. I spoke to my mom, and I felt like for that moment, she just had her heart open. She was like, can we just have a relationship? And I'm like, that's all I've ever wanted, is to have a relationship with my mom. It's just that, Mom, first of all, you ghost me. I will send you something and you just don't answer me for months or a year, my mom ghosts me when I say anything, or she kicks me out, and then she just doesn't answer that, and I just feel like I'm talking to a brick wall. I just like don't know what to do actually at this point. And at Christmas we talked, and I was like, okay, well, I'll tell you where I'm at, my plans, what I'm doing in my life for the next like few months, and I'll tell you where I am and why I'm here, but you have to promise not to tell anyone, because oh my god, things just spread so freaking fast. And then she'll go tell her friends, and then her friends will tell their daughters, and their daughters will gossip about me. I swear it's like this. It's not even exaggeration. It's just things always come back to me. I'm like, how did you hear this? I like privacy when it comes to certain things. The thing is, like, I reveal a lot about my life by this podcast, but it's like I'm the one revealing it. It's my truth, my story. Like, finally I gained my voice, finally I gained my backbone. It's like all these people had these narratives like of who I was, and it was never from me. It was never my voice. It was never the truth. So everyone just feel like they thought they knew me, and no one has ever known me, but they've never heard the truth. And that's the thing about being a person that usually goes to no contact. Some people look at people like that as a problem. No, that's a person that is not willing to put up with the family's lies. That is the one truthful person in a family of dysfunction. And that's why, like, they always tried to make me like, well, you're the problem because you're the one that doesn't have a relationship with your family. No, I'm the one that can see through all the patterns. I'm the one that is not willing to have an unhealthy dynamic. Like, that is the healthiest person. Show me the one that doesn't usually talk to their parents and is not willing to put the function. I'll show you the healthiest person in the family. It's like that person's not willing to have an unhealthy relationship with anyone, and that's healthy. The hell? I just feel like I don't even know what to do at this point, because my dad and I feel great. We've been doing great. I'm so happy. Like, I have so much peace in my heart because of it. I just want to become stable in certain ways so I can actually make more memories with my dad. But with my mom, I think I just feel numb. Like, I don't even know. Maybe I just have healed enough from it. I don't know. I don't even feel sad like I used to. I feel so sad for so long. I feel like I really grieved. I really feel like I grieve loss of. There's a point where I actually never felt like I would speak to my parents ever again. I don't think she's doing it consciously. I know my sister is. I don't know if my mom's not doing it consciously. That's what I wonder. Because around Christmas, when I said, if you make a promise to me to not tell anyone what I'm doing or what I'm at, if like you make the promise to me to keep it private, she's like, I won't even tell my husband. Okay, good. That was easy. Wow. Told her what I was doing. The next day, she goes and tells everyone in my entire family. She goes and tells her husband and my sister's fine deal, and then I'm hearing from my sister's friends. And then I feel all this evil eye, and then I feel these gossip and these rumors. I'm like, that's why I like deprived it, and that's why you couldn't be trusted. So now I'm like, okay, well, I don't need to like drastically cut her off again. I thought about it because like, what the hell was that? This was just recently. What the hell was that? My mom was like, oh, I bought you matching pajamas. Like, wish you could come here. And I wanted to just ignore everything. And I wanted to fall into that delusion. I wanted to go and be in those matching pajamas so bad and be around that tree and just be drinking, because my whole family's alcoholic. I try to drink. I can't. Like, I actually try. I can't. I don't know why I'm like the opposite of them. I wanted to participate in this delusion. Oh my God, it'd be so much easier. I think every Christmas is ignorance bliss. It's ignorance bliss. I think this all the time. But I can't. And I know it's fake. It's not even fake. It's like, it's real to them. It's just not for me. But then it's like, I feel like I sound like I'm better than them, and I don't feel like that way. I just think it's like completely different ways of living life, and it's like I can't go back to that dysfunction. Like, I would be destroying myself. I don't know. So I'm like, I try to love her at a distance. I try a relationship at a distance, but she just doesn't respect my things. And I said to her, I'm like, how am I supposed to have a relationship with you if you make a promise to me and then you just break it? It's like you just broke my trust. And then she said to me, you have no consideration for how I feel and how you are in a different country. You're so disrespectful. She goes in to say again how I'm her daughter and how she birthed me and how she's allowed to do what she wants and say what she wants. And if I don't respect that, then I don't need to talk to her. So that's where I'm at now. And I just like had nothing to say. I just think it's this whole process. I actually don't know what to do with my mom. I look at her now and I'm like, I just feel like she's so different from the mom I had when I was a kid. It's so strange because they say a kid from 0 to 7, fundamental developing years, is when a kid, it develops its values and morals. And when I actually look at my siblings, before everything, I felt like they had good morals and values, and my mom has good morals and my dad does too. Under all of this, they do have good morals. I think when I think about like the perfect mom and how nurturing she was, it's like she was like so attentive to me and so nurturing when I was a kid. I remember when I was a baby laying on the floor. It's probably one of my first memories, looking up at her and how every day she would just, when she was a stay-at-home mom, and she just played with me. But I think it's just because there's different things, like the hatred of having to go into her masculine energy, the way that my dad did her, and how that ended, and how it's like she became to we were a whole world, and it's like she began to resent us. I even asked her one day, I was like, do you regret like having kids? And she said to me, she didn't answer for like 2 minutes, first of all, and she was like, I just wish it wasn't with your father. But my dad, on the other hand, like, he reflects on this marriage. He thinks, well, I got something good out of it. I got you guys. It's just very interesting. I don't know. I feel like my dad loves us more than my mom. And my mom, I just look at her, I just think she's so trapped, and like everything triggers her, and she's like extremely self-unaware. It still breaks my heart. Like, I don't think you get to this point of like ever not hurting and ever not breaking your heart. I think you become like numb to it, and eventually you get to this point, you've already grieved them. I've already grieved them so many different times, but still, they're your parents. So this has like been my no contact journey. It's been a roller coaster, and I'm tired of it. I wish I could just hug my parents and go back to like when we were younger. It's like not like they even have to be perfect. I just wish, like, what happened to the nurturing side of my mom? What happened to it? I'm like in shock. Like, she was like the most maternal, motherly parent you could think of. So attentive. She was like, when we were younger, she did feed us healthy, but then when we got older and we got divorced, everything changed. I don't want to talk bad about my family because I love them, but they've talked bad about me, lies, my whole life. I'm just speaking the truth. And I don't think anyone will ever find this, just people that are finding alignment. So I'm always hesitant because I feel like I'm a very respectful person, but at the same time, why am I letting these people like walk over me? I don't have to be silent. For who? For what? To keep whose lies? I will never be silent ever again. It's a generational curse. Yeah, that's been the path, and it's been honestly heartbreaking. But at the same time, it's always easier to look at why me, like why I'm on this path, and why other people have good families. Understand that every family is a karmic. It doesn't matter like what path your soul's on. Every family is karmic, and I think a lot of people are just willing to put out the facade. Like, I've just seen so much. There's so much dysfunction. I see how a lot of people are willing to participate in that dance. So you think a family might look perfect on the outside, it might not be, and maybe it is. And say if a family is born to a family that's loving, caring, and the kids felt safe, and there isn't a black sheep. I don't know. People say every family has one, but I don't know. Maybe not. I know I was born into a family like this for a reason, and I know it's so annoying, but like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger is so true, because I would not have even been on this path to break cycles and these generational cycles if it wasn't for that. And I always thought like I was breaking generational cycles for my lineage. I don't know. I used to think, I was like, okay, well, it's to leave a legacy. Like, what's the point if you're not breaking these? But I don't really believe in legacy anymore. I don't know if I do. No one's gonna really remember you or remember this. I think it's just maybe for your soul and the evolution. I mean, I don't have all the answers. Life is fleeting and life's short. I don't want to not speak to my parents because I know death could be right around the corner, and I don't want to have any regrets. I think I'm just still navigating how to have relationships with them, because I just feel like I can't even hold conversation anymore that doesn't resonate with my soul. I think it's actually kind of important to try. You sometimes have to do the small talk before you can go deep. You can't just always go deep with people. Not everyone's meant to go deep, like I said. I don't know, I'm still navigating that, and I think I might always be navigating that. There's so many times before I thought, you know what, I'm so much happier without them. I'm so much happier not talking to them. But I think sometimes you just become numb and you think you're done the grieving. But I just think if we're being honest with ourselves, we're never really done the grieving process when it comes to that. I think you get better at accepting it. I think you get better at eventually just accepting this is what it is and figuring out how to love people from a distance.